Drop the machete. Put it down. Drop the machete now.
A homeowner's security camera captures the tense moments leading up to police officers shooting a man wielding a machete in the town of Mexico in October. The man survived the shooting, but this is an example of the kind of high-stress, split-second decisions officers across the state are being asked to make every day. Good evening, I'm Pat Callahan. And I'm Samantha York, in for Amanda Hill. Here in Maine, there is just one place recruits can get the training they need to make those decisions and be certified to be a law enforcement officer, and that is the Maine Criminal Justice Academy. News Center Maine's Hania Shibi takes us to Vassalboro for a look at the program and how it's adapting to meet the changing needs of Mainers. Hi, Hannah.
Pat and Samantha, to be certified for the 18-week training program, cadets have to already have a job with a police department in Maine. They also have to meet these standards: pass a polygraph, pass a background check, pass a medical, physical fitness, psychological, and written tests, and be at least 19 years old. And as I learned, their training also takes them far beyond enforcing the law. For 18 weeks, these cadets live right here at the academy. It's eat, sleep, train, sweat, study, repeat.
The repetition is important. That's where we develop proficiency.
Josh Daly is one of the instructors.
We're constantly taking new training to see if there's better ways to do what we're doing. Safer ways or more effective ways.
The majority of cadets who come here have little or no experience in law enforcement.
If we prepare them for worst case, everything else becomes a bit easier to manage.
1, 2, 3.
It felt like it was my calling.
At 21, Vincent Perfetto is the youngest cadet in his class. His aim, to help people.
One of the most important things for anyone to do is to constantly seek self-improvement. And it helps a lot when you have people yelling at you, making you improve. But then to know after the academy that you need to be your best for the sake of other people. And that's a very strong motivator.
The program goes in phases, from skills application to real-life scenarios.
Stay back!
Pushing cadets beyond their comfort zones.
My wife left me, my kids hate me. You need to leave.
And then I build upon those: tunnel vision, elevated heart rates, labored breathing, loss of fine motor skills. All of these things happen under pretty significant stress.
It's shocking at first. You think you know what it's like to get screamed at, but coming through here, it's humbling. And as time goes on, again, you get used to it, but you also realize the importance, and your skin gets tough real quick.
But it's not all about having tough skin.
For today's purpose of today's class, I'm here as a dad of a child with autism.
Cadets also learn a new skill that's become critical. According to the CDC, 1 in 44 children are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder.
And they're going to display with certain characteristics that can be very challenging in terms of safety issues, and it's important that they know how to recognize it.
Someone here within the next few months on the road, they're going to be able to use what you gave them.
I appreciate that feedback a lot.
Another part of an officer's day, dealing with people experiencing homelessness. Jim Devine used to be on the streets. Now he's helping cadets better understand what that's like.
Most of my life I was a master electrician. You make a reasonable amount of money doing that. I was able to house myself, but I'm also in recovery from alcoholism. And my drinking is what put me on the street, which is what happened.
The concepts around that homeless issue is something that I think we've had to take a hard look at how we responded years ago, which was issuing trespass notices, kind of just moving people along, as opposed to today, which we really try to listen to the situation that they're in and try to figure out how we might be able to help facilitate a solution.
Because today's police officer also plays the role of teacher, first responder, counselor, social worker, psychologist, and the list goes on.
In the state, we have about 2,500 sworn law enforcement officers, but we only have around 85 crisis workers. And so we're asking law enforcement to fill in the gaps for a very depleted mental health system.
Hannah Longley from Maine's National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, is teaching cadets how to recognize the signs and symptoms of someone having a mental health crisis.
We do know in the last year that departments are reporting, depending on the department, they're reporting an increase of 30 all the way up to 60% increase in mental health call volume.
Longley says roughly 40% of people who have a mental health challenge will first be engaged by a police officer. The goal here is to make sure Maine's officers don't arrive at that crisis with bad misconceptions.
It's always good to understand our own biases and how to try to effectively work around those things to ensure that they don't come into play in our position as a law enforcement officer, which is intended to be objective. We have that training as well, but I think that there's always continued training in those areas.
After 18 weeks, this class of 68 cadets, the largest in the program's history, has graduated.
Officer Vincent Perfetto of the Gorham Police Department. Pinning Officer Perfetto's badge is Chief Christopher Sanborn of the Gorham Police Department, accompanied by Lieutenant Dana Thompson of the Gorham Police Department.
Registration, license, and your proof of insurance.
Nowadays, you can find Officer Perfetto on the streets of Gorham, answering any calls that come in.
I feel more than adequately prepared for whatever they throw at me here. And it's absolutely a vital class to take, each one of those, and plenty of others too, because it's everywhere. You don't even necessarily realize that it's there until one day you get the call, and it might be that you're the first person who's ever had that training and you're dealing with it, and you have to be able to recognize that.
Rick Desjardins, the Academy's director, tells me there are about 300 vacancies at police departments across the state. That's far more than the number of recruits currently set to go through the Academy. And that's the biggest problem among Maine's 163 police agencies. They can't get enough qualified applicants.
So Hannah, apart from all of the standards you've talked about that they set, what are the qualities of people they're looking for?
Yeah, Desjardins tell me they're looking for guardians, people who have strong ethics and integrity, and more importantly, people who have the capacity to put themselves at risk to help others.
So say I'm that person, how do I get started?
Well, if you're interested in being a police officer in Maine, you should reach out to the police department in the town or city that you're interested in working for. You can also find all of the information you need at the Maine Criminal Justice Academy's website, and it has a link to all of the police departments that are hiring.